Hi guys, welcome to Human or Athlete. I am so excited for this week's guest. We've got Daniel Edozie. I don't even want to get into this guy's story because only him can tell it today, and I'm super excited for it, man. Honestly, thank you for coming on.
Elliot, no worries, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to be a part of your podcast and your journey as well. So, you know what I mean? Ready to share some stories and just see how we can try to impact people around you and the audience that's also listening to your content.
Bro, brilliant. Let's do it. I think the only way to dive into this is for you to kind of guide us through your story right from the beginning. I'm probably going to interrupt with questions here and there, but take us through it all because it's, from what I've saw so far, is pretty incredible.
Okay. Well, where do we start? All right. This is always the pinpoint need to find. I guess once you find the pinpoint, then you know how to go from there. But yeah, what I usually tell people is that I was born in London, and was raised with a single parent, single parent. Yeah, father wasn't there
hmm
and whatnot, and yeah, my mom we it was just us two. We didn't really think about anything else. In fact, I was still trying to learn, trying to be like a kid and whatnot. So
hmm
didn't really pay attention to a lot of things that happened. But I guess, yeah, as time went on, we'll move from one place to another, within London or even around like globally and stuff. Like we would go sometimes to America, sometimes go to Africa. Also outside of that, we'll travel to like places in Europe and stuff. So just on an adventure. And so yeah, that's what life was like as a kid growing up. Well, and also in addition to single parent, and we had some low socioeconomic issues and stuff like that.
hmm
Um, and it's also one of those things that I didn't come up with a normal sort of childhood background. And so I'm just gonna kind of fast forward a little bit here, but so we moved to America in 2004, and this point, I'm just gonna go right into the story and stuff.
Shoot.
But in 2004, like my mother and I, we moved to America and we moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and we came in on, I want to say, like a 3-month visa, 30 days or 3-month
hmm
visa, somewhere along those lines. But keep this in mind for later. And so what we did was we stayed in Boston for a few days. And bear in mind, we also have family members in America in which we visited prior to. We have family in New York, Florida, and Texas.
hmm
And however, we didn't go to any of those places. And as a 11-year-old kid, we have family. So why aren't we going to any of these places? Now, that wasn't in the plan. So it was a bit confusing. Just had to kind of adjust, had to kind of weather the confusion and not really, yeah, get too upset. Because sometimes in life, you don't know what exactly is going to happen. As
hmm
a kid, you don't have any power or any say in what your parent is putting you through or
hmm
what your parents making you do. You just kind of learn to just shut up and, yeah, just take
Just.
take those on the chest and the chin. So you know what it's like. But so we ended up going to or moving to Las Vegas. And when we moved to Las Vegas, had absolutely zero clue what we were doing there. In fact, it took us 3 days to get there. And I remember leaving Boston and on that bus journey, it was, man, it was a hell of a journey, man. It was like stopping in one city to the other on the road for like a good 8 hours and stopping in another city. Like
Crazy.
literally three
Yeah.
days, I felt like I probably only got a good 3-4 hours of sleep, if that. You know
Jeez.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, when we got to Las Vegas, and the first thing that we did upon arrival was literally sit in the bus station, and we sat in the bus station and didn't do anything, didn't go anywhere, didn't call anybody, literally just rocked up at Las Vegas bus terminal, and yeah, was literally in this like blank page, like literally
hmm
in a blank page. So uh we ended up after a few hours, we ended up coming across this individual, and this individual was like a lady, was like a lady. She was a lady. This individual was a lady who, didn't know who she was, never have met her in our lives, let alone my life. And she just started talking to my mom for a little bit. And so, I was sitting there watching her interact with my mom, and I guess it was just this lady wanted to get to know who my mom was and stuff. All right, cool, whatever. And then after a few hours, right, we ended up leaving the bus station, and we ended up going to a apartment complex or place that has flats.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up going here. Okay, cool. Oh, we are staying with a random person, never met in our lives and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally just kind of going through the motions. I don't know what kind of motions to explain, but we're just
Yeah,
going through the motions. So, uh, and this is where I'm going to fast forward it a little bit here, but after a week of staying with this lady, she ended up moving out, and then my mom had to, well, I guess it forced us to move out as well, because we wasn't going to be able to afford like the weekly
Mm-hmm.
rate or monthly rate or whatever. So uh after moving out, we literally had nowhere to go, and after 1 week we hit the shelters, or we stayed in the shelters. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember first day being in the shelter. In fact, it was a sort of like hard hitting reality check, because this is something that I've never seen before, And so I'm looking at these sort of like looking at the surroundings and what I'm around now, and literally I was just humbled. Like I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like just humbled. Um, and so like because there was women with children, there was women who were single, who were just staying here. Like it was literally, we walk in, here's the office, like here's the office to the right, we walk through the building, and then there's this one massive hall of just people just sitting there. And so I was like, okay, strange world to be in, but again, like you just kind of going along with the flow. Um, so as time went on, they told my mom I need to be in school. This is like weeks, or
Mm-hmm.
within a month, first month of staying in the shelter. So I ended up going to school and stuff like that. And I'm also thinking, all right, I'm here in American school now. It's completely different from English school system,
Yeah.
completely different. And so not far off, but completely different, learning about different subjects and topic matters and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, after some time in school, ended up finishing school. And then after like the whole, that school year finished, I ended up we ended up moving to Los Angeles, California. And so ended up moving to Los Angeles, California. Didn't know why we was doing there, didn't know what we were doing there. And we were just literally, again, going through the motions, of uncertainty or confusion, whatever the case is. And we come across, when we moved to Los Angeles the first time, we came across this area in Los Angeles called Skid Row. Now, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure. You may have heard of it, may not have heard
Yeah, I
of it.
heard of it.
You heard of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if for you here in Skid Row, and for the audience who hasn't heard about Skid Row is essentially a good 2 to 3 mile radius within a specific area in downtown Los Angeles, where it's just pure poverty and homelessness, drug addicts, people who have given up on life, and people who are sleeping on the streets or rough sleeping essentially. And the what's the word I'm looking for? Another thing about it is like there's a stench in the air. Like if you walk through it, like there's a smell, like you just cannot run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so and first day, like coming across this area, when we got off the bus and we stepped foot in it, it was like, wow, like this is far different from the experiences that we had in Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
completely different world. And we stayed in a shelter in the heart of Skid Row called Union Rescue Mission. And it was one of those places where, well, the whole is like a high-rise building essentially, or like a big enough building,
Mm-hmm.
and it's separated into different two different like segments. So one side is for the women and the families, and the other side is just purely strictly for the men.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, I guess that's how they work, that's how they operate. Maybe to keep people safe, or keep people from certain things, whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
is. But we stayed there for a couple of months or so, and after a couple of months, we ended up like hitting, a couple other different shelters here and there and stuff like that. And because you can only stay in certain shelters for like either 30 days, 30 to 60 days. And so after a certain period, you gotta leave or whatever. And so yeah, we ended up staying in other random shelters. I can't even remember some of their names. It was like Salvation Army or
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
random stuff like that. So after a period of time of enough moving around in Los Angeles, California, we ended up moving back to Las Vegas, and again going through much more hardship and adversity, and also a bit of like much more confusing elements and much more homeless experiences, and battling with certain situations that my mom wasn't adapted to handle. And now looking back at it now, there's definitely some things about my mom that were quite strange at the time, but I didn't pay attention. I didn't know exactly what it was. But yeah, oh man, like we'll literally just again move around. In fact, my mom wanted to go to a place in Las Vegas where she thought that she had knew somebody. Okay, so we jump on the bus and all sorts of stuff, right? Jump on the bus. It's about an hour and 15, somewhere along those lines, to get to that location. Get to the location around 6 ish, and we sat there for a good like 2-3 hours, if not, might have been 4, just waiting on a person that my mom thought she knew. So we after a period of time, like the person that my mom was looking for evidently didn't live there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ended up happening is that somebody had called the police, and they called us. They called the police, and they came, saw what we were doing, and they said that if we don't leave, we could go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a kid at 11 years old, 12 years old, you hear this, you're like, I don't want to go to jail, like.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, it's tough because what she really believed in her mind, what she was trying to explain to the police, knocked on the door. They said, "Nah, this person doesn't live here," and my mom is still like in the space, confused, like didn't know what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, they basically said we could get fined, we could go to jail, et cetera, et cetera. And we had, bearing in mind, we had all this luggage. That's something I haven't explained. But we had all this luggage, just random bags and like
Mm-hmm.
just random stuff and whatnot. And so we have been carrying it like for a while, like for some time and stuff. And so we ended up they ended up getting a shopping cart and coming to where and brought us a shopping cart and said, here's, you guys could use this shopping cart to move your stuff or whatever. And yeah, we literally put all of our luggage in that shopping cart, and around 8:30 at night, 8:30 at night, 9 o'clock, I kid you not, that hour and a half bus trip that we took, we started to like backtrack, but we was walking. Like we didn't take a bus or nothing at all.
Shopping
Like we was
cart,
walking.
yeah.
Yeah, like in a shopping cart and stuff. So we're walking 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning through the
Mm-hmm.
night,
Mm-hmm.
like no sleep. Like we're passing up churches, hospitals. In fact, there was a hospital, and I asked my mom, can we go in here? Can we go in the hospital and get some sleep? She said, no, let's keep walking. And I'm like, I was just pushing this basket, like trying to figure out where it is that we are going, and you
Mm-hmm.
just don't have any say so. And so we ended up walking. I don't know what time of night we stopped, but let's just say 3 o'clock. at night, and we stopped at a church, like literally outside the doors, and we kind of like ducked off. Yeah, we ducked off in the church and like literally sat there and just went to sleep, or yeah, just literally
Mm-hmm.
like nobody was there. We couldn't go inside or nothing, so we slept outside the church. And so the morning came, and bearing in mind, I was also in school as well. I didn't go to school this day, but bearing in mind, um, I also had that going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So after that evening or that night, this new day, sitting outside the church, we ended up getting back and walking again. And this time now we're walking through the day, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, haven't eaten anything,
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the only thing that we did have was like some shelter food, like some I don't know, some yogurt or some
Mm-hmm.
custard and like maybe some bread or something. And yeah, just walking through, just kept walking, and then we eventually stopped somewhere. Now I don't remember where we stopped at, but where we stopped at was like at a bus stop, and we sat there for a few hours. Again, like didn't take the bus though. We just sat at the bus stop. And so as the day went on, it got to about the evening time, and we got back walking again. And we got back and walked, and we stopped at a park. And the park that we stopped at, it was like maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. By the time we got to
Mm-hmm.
this park, sort
Mm-hmm.
of thing, and we just stopped at the park and yeah, literally just settled there for again another period of time and stuff. And so my mom, I remember my mom, she had given me some bus tokens to go to school the next day. And okay, 4 o'clock in the morning, got some bus tokens, had my school bag there. I remember being at the park and going into the public restroom and brushing my teeth and all that
Mm-hmm.
sort of stuff. And yeah, literally like 6, 7 o'clock came. I took the bus to my school and then went to school the next day, and nobody had knew what the hell. I just went through.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anybody about it, but yeah, as 11, 12 year old, you just yeah, life outside of school is like completely different. In fact, you almost feel safer at school than you do
Mm-hmm.
in outside of these walls and stuff. So,
Feel
um,
like a normal kid. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Some kids around that age are probably playing video games at home, or the
Mm-hmm.
mom's making them food. Instead, I was trying to figure out what the hell's going on in my personal life. But anywho, so went to school that day or whatever, and then came out. And yeah, somehow I can't remember, but I feel like my mom ended up coming to where I was at school, or either she stopped somewhere and yeah, left luggage there or whatever. And yeah, but that basically the point in that story, what I'm saying is that sometimes like you get like there's things that are just generally out of your control that you cannot control, so you just gotta
Mm-hmm.
kind of control what you can, and that's just how you respond to certain situations and stuff. I mean, could have all the anger and all the upsetness in the world, but just sometimes in life you just gotta keep calm and just keep rolling with the punches.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just an example. That's just a story in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like adversity and struggles and stuff. Along with other things where again we're sleeping in and out of shelters and like not really eating as much, and again going to school and getting sick. Like there was so many moments where yeah, like the moment could have really channeled like the other side, the deeper, darker side of like my personality, or our personality or whatever. But it was always that sort of humbleness, because I was humbled initially. I wasn't like, I wasn't affected by too many situations that kind of like were happening right before my eyes. In fact, most times like I was trying to make the best out of things, whether that was to ask for some money, or panhandle a little bit just to like buy a bike or something,
Mm-hmm.
or to panhandle and go get a basketball and just play a little bit of basketball at a park or something like that. Like that was always the kind of thing that I would do, is just try to like make the best out of the situation, even if I didn't know how to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there was that. And then, kind of fast forward a little bit. we we moved back to Los Angeles again. We kept going back and forth quite a few times where we was going in between both places, and kind of move forward here a little bit. But when we moved to Los Angeles, experienced everything all over again, even on another level. It
Mm-hmm.
almost felt like things got worse before they got better. But however, we stayed in Los Angeles for about another 4 months or so, somewhere around there. With all this moving around and not really knowing where the hell we're gonna sleep and stuff. And then, like, my mother decided to buy some tickets in attempt to go to Florida, where we have an aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as we are in this situation, it's like, oh, snaps, okay, we're gonna go see a family member. It's something
Mm-hmm.
to look forward to. It's
Mm-hmm.
something to kind of feel like with the situation that you've just been dealing with, it kind of gives you a little bit of hope, which is the most positive thing that can happen. Anywho, we take the bus. Okay, it's another 3-day bus trip, and yeah, these 3-day bus trips and all this travel and stuff is a bit out of the ordinary. But we take a bus trip, an attempt to get to Florida, and we go through different states. It's like a day and a half in, and we get to Texas. So we get to a place called El Paso, and we lay over there.
Mm-hmm.
And El Paso is East Texas. No, sorry, not East, West Texas. Like literally,
Yep.
yeah. It's kind of trying to see it in the map. But literally, we stop in El Paso, and we lay over there. Everything seems good. You're not thinking about worst case scenario. You're just like, yeah, okay, let's go on with it. So we end up getting on the bus again from El Paso, but now this time we come across a sort of like border patrol. And I remember sitting in the bus, and I look out the window, and I was looking, and I was like, United States Homeland Security, or somewhere along those lines. And I'm like, someone has said this like a while ago, and they said that if you guys don't leave the country by a certain time, then you guys can end up being deported. And knowing that we were in the country illegally, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how I knew, but I knew.
Yeah.
Uh, we, yeah, we were when this whole border thing, like when we saw this, or when I saw it, I was like, something just felt funny, felt off. A part of me was hope he just drives through this. But then as I saw the bus, he pulled over and he stopped. I was like, yikes. So I'm just watching this whole situation unfold before my eyes, right?
Mm-hmm. Almost all
So
right. Yeah.
no, so yeah, exactly. So I'm in the back, and the police officers or the immigration officers come on the bus. They say, hey, make sure hey, we are the immigration officers, yada yada yada. Make sure you have your papers, and if you don't have the right papers, we can prosecute you or something along those lines. So I'm like, my heart is beating, do 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 do. And they checking everybody in front, and then they get to my mom, and they spend way more time with my mom than they did on anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, I'm like, no. So I sat there, and my mom like turned around and pointed to me, and they was talking to her. But then one of the officers, there's like another officer. She came towards me, and she said that, yeah, we're gonna have to ask you to get off the bus. You and is that your mother? And I was like, yes. And yeah, that was it. Like, I remember sitting there just in this kind of like disbelief, and like, man, like, as a 12-year-old kid, like, it's disappointing, isn't it? And so, yeah, we get off the bus, get all of our luggage, from underneath, and we had a lot. Again, we had so much luggage. It's not even fun. I kid you not. But anyway, so yeah, take our luggage off. Bus driver closes the doors, double checks everything. Everything's all good. Bus driver gets back on the bus, and yeah, the bus takes off, and we're sitting here, we're standing here. Is my mother and I, our luggage, and this immigration thing right here. And yeah, it was just like that was like our only chance. You know what I mean? That was like the moment of hope when you just hold on
Mm-hmm.
to that little thin thread, and you're like, yes, something, and then it's like it just gets sucked out of you. You're just like, you know. So, anywho, making
It's kind of like you were just kind of saying how you was finding like the best and everything, and you were kind of just there's a bit of confusion, but you were kind of just getting through it, and then that kind of like you were kind of a kid just coping in this kind of his own world with a bit of imagination, whatnot, and then you kind of have this real like bit of hope, little bit of dream, like something could really come from this, and then straight back down,
yeah,
like, and it,
yeah.
I was it kind of like you obviously you've been coping with it and kind of just I don't know, finding ways like you said, finding the best, which is crazy, and then this one was kind of like whoa. I feel the fear in this one. Like this one's really not right.
Yeah. That I definitely felt it because yeah, we didn't have our papers. We had our visa. Like I mentioned to you earlier, it was
Mm-hmm.
we can only stay up to like 3 months, 30 days or 3 months or something like that. And yeah, by this point, it is 8, 9 months past like well when we first got into the country. So
Yeah.
it's really 5 to about 6, 7 months after the expiration of our visa. And so yeah, and knowing that it's like
It
this is
felt real.
just
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just what our luck, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So we get on the so we go inside and we sit in there for a good 4 or 5 hours, and this isn't this is like yeah, you're being put on what's the word? You're being put on timeout. That's what it felt like. You're being put in timeout, like just sit here and don't do anything. And
Interesting.
yeah, it's just like damn. All right. And where the border patrol thing is, it's like literally middle of nothing. Like you got both rows on the side, and you got this border patrol, and everything else around is like literally just dirt and
Yeah.
sand and like desert for hours, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, damn, can't go anywhere, can't do anything. Like your life is basically dependent on what they do to you, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, hours go by, and yeah, they ended up picking up. Oh, they ended up picking us up in a van, and a van. Well, this van was quite interesting because it had no windows besides the last two windows, or besides the windows on the door.
Yeah.
Um, and so, okay, we're looking. They open up the doors, and it's like 6, 7 other people in there. And so it's like, damn, like what, like what is this?
Yeah. That's
So,
crazy.
so literally, this is real life. I kid you not. I kid you not. Anyway, get in the van, and they close the doors, and it's literally like being in the back of a police vehicle. Like you
Yeah.
have the little window in the front, and then you have the two windows in the back.
Yeah.
And yeah, like literally I was sitting on the edge with here's the door and stuff, and I was just like sitting there and just looking out the window, and we stayed in this vehicle for a good like hour and a half, 2 hours,
Yeah. Did you feel like literally you had been like arrested, like you were like a criminal?
Exactly,
Yeah.
for real.
Crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
and there's like nothing that you can do essentially. So, but the good thing is we ended up going back to El Paso, and they end up putting us in like a shelter, I guess like a refugee shelter.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we stayed there for about 4 weeks, try to make the best out of the situation, socialize. I was around adults all the time, and just yeah, literally trying to talk to people, get to know them and stuff. I mean, again, literally just trying to make the best out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we end up after a few weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, we ended up seeing a immigration officer, and saw the immigration officer, and yeah, we get into this meeting with him, and he make it a long story short, he ended up saying that you guys are no longer allowed to be in the country because we've overstayed our visa by X amount of time, and et cetera, et cetera. So now 12 years old hearing this, and then looking at my mom, and just literally scoping the whole situation, like it's almost as though none of this is like my fault. Like I didn't ask for any of this, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, yeah, I was a bit down. I was disappointed because none of us. I knew what was going on, but there's like literally nothing that I can do,
Yep.
and so yeah, literally just went with the punches, and we ended up going back to the what's the word I'm looking for? We ended up going back to the refugee center, and yeah, literally had like a week left. And surprisingly enough, we actually met a guy that was also from London as well, or from England. I would love to meet. I would love to just figure out if I ever see him again. Be interesting. But yeah, he was literally from London and was literally talking about everything about England and stuff. And so yeah, so then after that week and a half, after seeing, or after the remainder of the time after
Mm-hmm.
seeing that immigration officer, we ended up going back to Los Angeles, California. Now, this is probably a question that people will have is like, well, where did my mom get all the money from? I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to say probably benefits or, who knows? I generally don't know. Um, but yeah, we ended up going back to Los Angeles, California, and things weren't no better. It was like being back at square one all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like in life, sometimes when you're trying to climb out the bucket of a situation or out of an environment or whatever, and then somehow like you almost there or you start making that climb, and then all of a sudden like you either lose grip or something just comes right underneath you and sweeps you off
Mm-hmm.
your feet, and
Yep.
you're like, damn, now I gotta get back up. So
Was anything else kind of said, or like, was there any kind of fear around like, obviously the immigration officers like fully just kicking you out of the country, or
you know
like
what?
were you kind of just running from them, or what was that like?
So they didn't kick us out initially when they caught us.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us a bit of time because we probably didn't have the money to leave or
Yeah.
whatever. Which is, I mean, that in itself, although as treacherous as it sounds, it's also a positive thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I guess I could take. I guess we could look at it from that side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were. What did we do? We were in Los Angeles, and yeah, oh man, it gets even much more interesting because there were times where literally I would just things felt so bad that I was just trying to run away, like was living in Skid Row legit, and I just wanted to get out and go explore or go try like survive really, whether that's panhandle a little bit so I could eat
Mm-hmm.
or just get away from the place that I'm in and try to go out into yeah, just try and go out into the city, go venture off and stuff, or even like yeah, sometimes I need the money for transport. Like I will buy a bus ticket or a bus pass or something like that. And I would just try and stay on a train all day or take buses to like random places all day. And yeah, and literally I took every line from the beginning to the end back to the beginning and swapping it to another
Mm-hmm.
line. Like literally,
Yeah.
I love trains, by the way. I'm saying that. So yeah, and there was times where I did that like all night, and there was one night where or there was one day where I just went on a journey. I just went on a journey. Didn't care wherever I went, wherever I was going. The only thing I had with me was maybe a little bit of money, a couple bus tokens, and a big like 150 to 200 gallon trash bag. And
Mm-hmm.
so the trash bag, is just filled with clothes, literally nothing else, just clothes, and didn't have a backpack, no suitcase, none of that stuff, right? So like I remember being on transport all day and literally I took the last train on this thing. It's called the Red Line, which runs through, of course, evidently downtown Los Angeles. But I stayed on that, and I ended up, I ended up, what did I end up doing? I ended up going all the way to Hollywood at like 2 o'clock in the morning, just staying on the train. Like wasn't going
Mm-hmm.
to Hollywood for any reason, but just staying on it. And then I ended up taking the train back towards downtown Los Angeles, and yeah, it was a case where I got back to downtown at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I remember going upstairs, coming from the underground, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, dead silent, nothing's around. You're in the heart of downtown Los
Mm-hmm.
Angeles. No cars are running. There's no people out. And the only thing I have is just me, myself, and I. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, the only person I could depend on was me in that moment. And yeah, I had a expired bus pass and no money and all that stuff. And so what I decided to do was I just decided to just take a night bus and just stay on it, and just kind of, yeah, just stay on it and go on another venture. Endless endless adventures, as you can hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so went all the way to Long Beach. Remember, I was so tired. I remember being so tired, like I literally just took a nap. But then I woke up and this guy, well, this probably a story. I'm not really ready to share this one, but um, yeah, this guy, he was basically what he was trying to do. He was trying to groom me. He was trying to groom me into something that he was trying to get me to do. And what it
Mm-hmm.
was okay. After this long bus trip or whatever, he started trying to talk to me and stuff, and just seeing like what's going on, what am I doing, yada yada yada. And I just told him I'm hungry. I just want some food and stuff, right? I was dead hungry,
Mm-hmm.
like for real. And so the bus comes to a bus stop, and the bus stop is like literally outside Denny's. And he's like, "Oh yeah, we could go in there, go get some food." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm starving. I didn't know any better. I just wanted some food. And so got off the bus, went into Denny's, and I remember sitting in Denny's, and yeah, we were literally like, I ordered so much food. I don't know how much the bill was, but I don't think he was happy about how much he had to pay. So literally it was yeah, order pancakes, omelets, potato hash browns, whatever, anything that you could think of, right? And it was started eating, and and all that good jazz. And then he looked at me, he said, "Oh, what if I was to tell you you can make some money?" And I was like, "Okay, money doing what?" And he was basically trying to get me to become involved in the prostitution game, essentially. And so 12 years old, and I hear this, and I'm
God.
like, like, nah, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Jeez.
can't do that. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
and it took a lot of like courage to stand there or sit there and tell him no as a kid. It's a
Mm-hmm.
hell of a decision to try and make. So anyway, um, he ended up just leaving, and he went off, and I was sitting there confused, like didn't know what to do. And yeah, after some time, I just ended up leaving because I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
any reason to stay here. Although there was
Yeah.
still this food in front of me, I couldn't take it with me. But yeah, really, in that moment, though, sometimes life really, you got to learn when to put your foot down and say no. No matter how old you are, and you just got to know when the wise decision just has to be made, regardless of either how good it sounds or how bad it's making you feel. One of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
but anywho, so I ended up going back to Los Angeles, California, and then meeting up with my mom. Now, meeting up my mom in Skid Row, in the shelter that we were staying at, or we used to stay at. In fact, we were staying somewhere else. Um, it was quite interesting because I didn't expect to see my mom there. I was kind of just going along the journey, and just, yeah, just literally went back to Onion Rescue Mission. Wasn't really looking for anything, and I walked in and I see my mom. I'm like, "Oh, hello." Yeah, I haven't seen you
Mm-hmm.
since yesterday, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw my mom, and then we sat there for a couple of hours. I probably met up with her around like 10, 11. And then met up with my mom, and then we sat there for a couple of hours, and then I kind of went and ventured off, and then came back, and then by this point my mom wanted to go where she wanted to go, right? And so, okay, cool. So it's like 2:33ish, somewhere around there, and we leave Union Rescue Mission, which and that shelter, and we start to walk, and then we turn down a couple of streets, and there's a shelter that's serving food at the time. So I asked my mom, can we go ahead and get some food? And she said no, and just kept walking. So I was following her, but then I got up to a certain point where I'm like, I really want to go in here and get some food. And so I just stopped. And it was that choice where my mom just kept walking, right? She didn't think to stop, didn't think to look back. Like, literally, I watched her cross the street and everything. She didn't think to turn around, nothing. So I was like, all right. Went back into the shelter, went to go get some food. 20 minutes later, you know, I come out the shelter and all I have is this trash bag again, no bus tokens, no money, no, like, literally nothing,
Mm-hmm.
rock bottom sort of thing. And so, um, and so I remember, like, literally turning, like, okay, just trying to figure out what I got to do to navigate my way through this. And so ended up just kind of following the path that my mom took. And then what I see next, I kid you not, Elliot, this is unbelievable. So I walked to the corner of a street, and what I saw is that my mom is on the bus heading to where she wanted to go to. Right? So I'm thinking, oh, snaps, okay, what do I do? Do I run after the bus? Is my mom gonna get off the bus? Like, so, but instead, here's what happens. So, so I look to the left of me, and there's a bus stop, and I'm thinking, all right, you know, what's gonna happen? But instead, the bus gets to the bus stop, see no sign of my mom, and then boom, the bus just keeps on going. So now, 12 years old in the hardest skid row, you know, faced with the decision of, like, of something that, like, I don't even know, like, you can't even explain it. I can't even
Mm-hmm.
explain it at that age. I'm just trying to. It's like, what parent would do this to their own child? Like, literally just leave them in a place that isn't safe.
Mm-hmm.
And like, parents, I share the story with parents and stuff, but they can't believe that's something they'll never do to a kid,
Mm-hmm.
regardless and whatnot. But I can, like I said, there was always something weird about my mom. I can Not weird. I don't like that word, but there was something concerning about my mom,
Mm-hmm.
growing up and living with her and stuff. But in that moment, it was just like, okay, you know, I had a choice. It's either to become a part of this environment that I'm in, and yeah, literally sleep on the streets and be where I'm surrounded by all these kind of, like, you know people and stuff like that, or either I go and find somewhere to sleep. And my first thing was, okay, I want to go find somewhere to sleep. So I went into I went into three shelters, and the first two I want to talk about because this was a true test of determination. So both shelters turned me away because I was under the age of 18,
Mm-hmm.
and they said they wouldn't be able to house me. So coming out of the second shelter, I was really like, damn, is this it? Like, am I going to sleep here on these streets tonight, or am I going to try and get out of here? And instead, I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep on walking and just seeing what I could find. And I get to another shelter. I get to this last shelter, and I asked them, excuse me, I'm looking for someone to sleep. Would you be able to help? And they said, no, sorry, we can't take. Well, they asked me how old I am. I said I'm 12 years old. They said no. And so I was like, okay, it's just, I couldn't even complain. Like, I've been told no so many times. But then they asked me, how old are you? I said I'm 12. And they said, well, where's your mom? And I literally just told them what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they was like, no, that's not right. And they said, yeah, you shouldn't be here on these streets and stuff and in this area and whatnot. And I was just like, yeah, I know. Like, I just kind of going along with it. At
Oh
12 years
shit.
old, at 12 years old, you're just like, yeah. I mean, what more else? What one more worse can happen?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. And so, you know, um, she was like, yeah, you shouldn't be here. So I was like, yeah, okay, and then she started asking, like, where do I live and all these other questions, and I was just telling her, like, some information. And she said, okay, we're gonna try and find you a shelter uh, tonight, and for teenage kids and stuff. So I was like, all right, cool. So I stood there, was waiting, and they called this shelter in Hollywood, and unfortunately the shelter was close to capacity, and they wasn't taking any more kids, and also too it would have they weren't taking any more kids after a certain time, and I wouldn't have made it
Mm-hmm.
in time anyway. But anyway, the police, so they ended up calling the police. Okay, police came and picked me up, and they literally wanted to try and help me find my mom. Couldn't find her at all. Um, and yeah, it was a case of literally we were driving through St. Julian, which is one of the streets in Skid Row, going down like maybe like 6, 7 streets, San Pedro, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, couldn't find her at all. So they ended up taking me to the police station, and it's by this point now it's like maybe six,
Mm-hmm.
half five, 6 o'clock or something like that. And I remember just sitting there and just waiting. Like literally, all I had was a trash bag, nothing else. Hadn't eaten, all that. And yeah, 4 hours go along. 4 hours go by, and it's about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and this random guy comes in, and he has yeah, he's mixed race guy or whatever, and he's talking to the police officers, and then he comes over to where I'm at, and yeah, he says, "Oh, my name is such and such. I work for the social services here in Los Angeles, and
Mm-hmm.
can you come with me, please?" So I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." So I ended up going along with him and getting into his car. And what ended up happening was we were conversating, and yeah, he said, "We're gonna look for your home tonight." And so I asked him, "Are we in the so does that mean I'm in the foster care system?" And he said, "Yeah." So by this point now, I'm in this car with this random guy. God knows only what I just have experienced over the last
Mm-hmm.
48 hours, let alone like the last 8, 9 months and stuff. And now I find myself in this car with this guy going into the foster care system. Like it was so much to try and process all at once,
Would you say that was rock bottom?
I would say what in terms of that moment.
Like in that day or so, that 2 days, that 48 hours, that was like
Rock
I've
bottom.
got I've got nothing. There's nothing else. My mum's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like literally,
Mm-hmm.
when yeah, when I felt like at rock bottom as soon as I came out of that shelter. After I
Mm-hmm.
left, I went in for food and I came out and I literally had nothing.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, it was life or death for me. I
Mm-hmm.
just managed to survive through it. Um, and that's that kind of yeah. It's just it was, but then it was just something that just yeah, just kind of kept that sort of faith or like that. I think come across that emotion of like just wanting to give up, like just give up
Mm-hmm.
and be in this environment like everybody else. There's still a part of me that just wanted to keep going, like
Yeah.
just keep going. Don't know why, don't know where, but just keep going. Because anything can happen. But yeah, but back to this car ride though. Yeah, I found myself in the foster care system and didn't get to my foster home until like 1 o'clock in the morning. In fact, I was in the same home with another kid who had just been picked up from that night as
Mm-hmm.
well. Mads is actually quite mad. So I was like, wow, okay. And yeah, from there, literally from that day, everything just yeah, life just turned around, man. Like the deportation. I'll tell that a little bit later. But I ended up staying in that home. I ended up staying in that home for a week and then moving to Compton, California. Then ended up like yeah, staying with the foster parent that I had. And yeah, we got the right like support. Like, oh man, that support was much needed at the time for my situation. And cause without it, I would definitely have been a goner. I definitely would have
Mm-hmm.
been sent somewhere else. But managed to, yeah, managed. I was given a social worker, amazing social worker, who ended up like fighting for my case and everything. And I would never forget her. Her name's Genevieve Lozano. Not to drop, but yeah, she literally found an immigration officer to grant me access to stay in the country. as a resident and stuff like that, or got my green card, and then managed to what's the word I'm looking for? Managed to get everything else that came along with it: social security, identification, and I didn't have to worry about being sent back to England or to London because we understand like the circumstances of the case and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, like literally after that, like had a bit more stability, was able to focus on whatever it is that I needed to focus on, whether that was just school, trying to get right, like in any sort of way
Mm-hmm.
possible, start playing sports. Yeah, I just kind of had a little bit of fun, but then there's also the other side where there was much more of the mental challenges and like trying to trying to understand how to cope. Like now as good as foster care, like for what it provided and for the purpose that it served, it was great, but there was also still, like my foster parent and parents potentially they were dealing with their own issues as well, and sometimes like when sometimes you're in a space where you're with someone who's dealing with their issues, it can take a toll on you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's all good though, I'm sure she's in a better, happier space now, or at least I hope so. But yeah,
But
I was
as a
dealing with
kid, you need people to look after you.
100%, man. And then I managed, yeah. That's important, and having that kind of people and stuff like that to be able to do that. Um, so yeah, but then I started picking up basketball, and I was always playing basketball while I was kind of like going through that sort of
Mm-hmm.
level of adversity. And after what's the word I'm looking for? After some time, I started playing for a club, and
Mm-hmm.
then I started like transitioning. Well, I was actually playing American football at first, but then I transitioned over to basketball and just stuck with it. And yeah, just playing basketball um, for various teams, high school teams, AU clubs, and just trying to get some exposure. And just started to kind of like shine a little bit, stand out and stuff, and start getting interest from colleges or from universities. Was traveling around the country, playing AU basketball, traveling and stuff. Like it was sick. It was actually a quite fun experience. Um, and then went through high school, finished high school, and then went to a junior college in Texas called Tyler Junior College, and played basketball there just as well as I studied and stuff. But I met some amazing people. I will never forget these people. Man, I wish, in fact, thinking about it now, I might reach out to them after this podcast.
Amazing.
But yeah, and then ended up staying there for 2 years, and then transferred to Iowa State for 2 years, where, like I was mentioning earlier, talking about March Madness and stuff, we managed to playing the big
Amazing.
dance. That's what they say, along with winning two conference tournament championships,
Yeah,
back to back. So that was sick. Got a chance to play with some amazing guys as well, and just watching them play, like Monte Morris and George Niang, Nas Long, Matt Thomas, Melvin Ejim, DeAndre Kane. Did I say George Niang?
yeah. You did. You
Yeah, I
did.
did. I did. Okay, and yeah, just some other players that came along with it, and then after 2 years, that was another amazing experience with people, and just like the whole experience with like basketball and also uni life, and yeah, just having fun with it. You know what I mean? I would never regret. The thing is that I guess you make decisions, but you never regret them because there's some that are fun and there's some that were just like learning lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So and then after finishing that, I ended up realizing, in fact, within those 4 years as well, I realized that I have two siblings. In fact, my younger brother reached out to me on Facebook,
What?
and yeah, he said that, hey, I think we have the same dad. So I was like, huh? Man, like this is so weird, so random. And coming to find out, yeah, he was like, we have the same dad, younger brother. Younger brother. And then he also realized I had a sister as well. And
Amazing.
yeah, it's quite interesting because I was like, oh, did not expect this at all. I would not never ever have guessed this. So after 2 years at Iowa State, I always told him that, if an opportunity came up to play in England, then I would take it just to come and see you guys or meet you guys and whatever. And so so I ended up getting a contract offer in Bristol, and so which was quite sick. But I didn't know, like, where Bristol was or whatever. So I ended up looking on the map, and then I also knew that my sister lives in Bath.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's it. It's like a no brainer. So I ended up going to Bristol, and I just picked the contract, came to Bristol, and boom, it's like, here I am in Bristol. How the opportunity came about was that's another story in itself. Maybe I'll tell you one day or another time, whatever. So, but no, real talk. How I got the offer to come to Bristol was basically I went to Las Vegas, and I played in this basketball tournament, or this showcase sort of tournament, and remember looking. There's a guy. I was looking around and I was seeing like some of the people that were there and whatnot, and the coach for the team that I played for, just for the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
he knew Andreas, and so
Who's Andreas?
Coach Andreas, the head coach for the Flyers. Sorry.
Okay. Bristol Flyers, got you.
Yeah, so he knew him. He knew him, and then he basically put me in touch with him, and like the coach for the Flyers and we started talking a little bit, and then it was like, oh, okay, there's an offer on the table. There's no rush. She could take it or whatever. So I'm like, all right. But then at the same time, I had an agent who was trying to get me to play in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
However, he didn't have any deals on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, at least I have a deal here on the table. It's first contract offer, whatever. But it was also wise to take it because of the opportunity to do other things outside of sport, which like connect my family or my siblings and stuff like that. So I took the contract offer, came to Bristol, and just kind of started really building from there. And yeah, it was like, came to Bristol, and first year turned out well. Didn't know if I was going to stay for the second year, but then I was like, I came to England, and I remember telling here's the thing, I remember telling like my family here, my siblings, just as well as the parents, that I'm not going to be here. I'm going to go play somewhere else. And I remember, like, I didn't know how much I actually meant to them because all of them were crying. I was like, damn, like, I didn't realize I meant this much to you guys. You know what I mean? Like, it was a whole year of like spending time with them, getting to know them and stuff. And yeah, like, I remember my sister was crying, my brother was crying, a person who I literally just met for a few months, she started crying, and then my sister's parents were crying. I'm like, yo, everybody relax.
Yeah.
So then when I walked away, and I was just like, damn, like, that's mad. So I was like, well, maybe I should reconsider, because I guess you just, when you see something like that, you're like, oh, okay. I need to think about this for a second. So I went away, thought about it, and I went away for the summer. Wasn't planning on it. I wasn't like, Bristol's out of my mind. I'm like, nah, let me consider this a little bit. So I ended up talking to coach, and I just told him I'll be coming back. So came back, and my siblings were like, whoa, you thought you wasn't coming back and stuff. I said, yeah, I know, but you guys just made me not want to leave. So
That's crazy. It's just kind of like probably the power of kind of like redefining what family means in that moment.
Yeah, definitely. Because then I guess you kind of like, you go through your journey, and some people are happy to see you leave, and some people are saddened by the fact that you're leaving. And when they're saddened by the fact that you're leaving, it kind of makes you think, well, damn, am I actually in a rush to go anywhere? Like, I'm only like, I'm only 23 years old. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really worried about what my future is looking like. I'm just here in this moment, wanting to, like, spend time, make memories, have good laughter. Build relationships, whatever. But then seeing that, I was like, all right, this is something I need to really think about. But yeah, definitely, that's the one thing you say in terms of like redefining what family is. But yeah, so I just stayed in Bristol, really trying to build my like personal foundation, and
Mm-hmm.
just really trying to build like really learn a lot. I've learned so much about like myself and life and everything over like these last 4 or 5 years and stuff and whatnot. And so it's one of those things where like I'm grateful for it. I'm not upset. I'm not upset that the fact that I stayed here in Bristol for so long. Um, because then there was other opportunities outside of basketball that was still there, like making the national team and playing in the Commonwealth
Mm-hmm.
Games in 2018. That was a hell of an experience. And then starting like my post grad degree um, a few years ago, and then completing it last year. That was a
Amazing.
hell of an experience and stuff like that. So it's like I don't have nothing to complain about. And plus, too, like thinking about like where I come from and well, what the experiences that I've had, and to get to this point now, it's just like like life is good. I ain't complaining. Regardless of what happens, it's something small. Like I don't know,
I
waking
mean,
up.
I think I gotta call you out right there. It's something small is probably the biggest understatement I've ever heard. It's
Well,
anything but small.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, I don't mean it in a way where it's like, wait a minute, your problems are just because your problems are big doesn't mean that mine are small. Yeah, I don't mean it like that, but I mean like, yeah, like some days where like we're complaining about things and like, oh, the weather's crap or this and that. I'm like, listen, the only weather that really matters is the one within you. And as long
Hmm.
as that's shining bright, then everything else is okay. I mean, you're
Yeah.
living, you have your breath, you're able to connect with people. You're on this earth. You know what I mean? And if you don't like the weather, then move. It's that simple.
I mean,
um,
wow.
but
It's
yeah,
yeah, it's honestly like I read a bit about it. I'd seen a couple of videos and done a bit of research before this, and hearing that and going through with the vivid detail, the descriptions and the stories, it's yeah, it's mind blowing, man. Honestly, it's a crazy journey, and it's to get to, like you said, to get to where you are now, and just to be able to like, finding, rebuilding family, like playing basketball, doing other things.
mm,
It's a miracle you're out here doing this and coming on the show and talking about these things. It's incredible, like how you got from Skid Row to to having a like finding your siblings and living in Bristol and playing basketball like that. It just blows my mind, man.
yeah, bro. I listen. If you used to ask me, if you used to tell me 12 years, 13, 14, 15 years from now, or when I was like 7, 8, whatever, I would not have believed 1 ounce of whatever you said because I didn't
Mhm.
see it. I don't believe it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, looking back now, you think, damn, like, yeah, this is mad. This is insane. Like, and this isn't something for me to keep. This is something to like help spread the inspiration or trigger some
Mhm.
inspiration. Something that makes people give something to look forward to in terms of like keeping that belief and that hope that things will turn out okay, like regardless of how ugly things get. And plus too, like it's that thing. Well, what is it? Although you have the choice to give up. What is it that's going to help you to keep on going? Like, what is that thing? What is that part about you? What is that voice that what voice are you listening to that says just keep going regardless? Like, don't even worry about this. This is only minuscule. Again, this is you have this little piece in the bigger picture. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
if we focus so much on this one piece, we'll lose sight of the bigger picture. We never will learn how to build the bigger picture, sort of thing.
Where did your
Um,
inner resilience come from to get through and see that bigger picture from so early on?
let, I think change of environments, being like mind blown by some of the things that come across. Like I was saying earlier, the first time stepping into a shelter, completely humbling. Going
Mhm.
into then sleeping on the streets from time to time, completely humbling. Um, and then what's the word I'm looking for? Coming across Skid Row, like that's another world in itself. That's completely humbling. In fact, walking through Skid Row sometimes, like you feel like you're constantly like looking over your shoulder, like you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly aware of your surroundings, you're constantly aware of threat, you're constantly aware of what's going on, to the point where you have no choice but to just like not stay in a state of fear, but just to be, yeah, just to be like present, fully present, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Alert. Mm-hmm.
Alertness. That's the word I'm looking for. And so, like you go through enough things in life, yeah, like your resilience kind of like just grows, or it grows in a way without you consciously doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at, and that's what life can do. Sometimes like life throws like specific obstacles at certain people, and I'm not saying like it to be like narrow-minded or to
Mm-hmm.
divide anybody, but sometimes life throws things at you in such a way where it's like, okay, you have this sort of choice to make. You're either going to be tied into the madness of the situation, or you're either going to hold your ground within the situation and not feel too caught up in what's going on. Like the only thing that you can get caught up in is how you feel, and just not really like losing your sense of balance, and
Mm-hmm.
not being also not being anchored down in such a way that you feel like you're sinking.
I
So
mean, yeah, I mean that's what I'm getting at. How did you go to the shelters the first time, and how did you not, in a way? Because obviously, like, there's so many people in these shelters on Skid Row, especially. I'm assuming that never get out of there.
yeah.
That's them for the rest of their life.
Mm,
Sorry.
mm.
And how did you not become one of them and get stuck and like get trapped in that environment, and then obviously like you never get out of it?
Well, like I said earlier, always trying to make the best out of situations.
Amazing. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, even though like I went through like that kind of madness, I always found something to do, or I was just wanting to do something that would like kind of take me away from it a little bit. And so yeah, it's that emotional mindset of wanting to make the best out of it. Like I said, I could have easily, when the whole thing happened with my mom and that, I could have easily looked at the situation, been upset, be angry, and just be like, life is tough, or life is this and life is that, and hold on to that like negative emotion. But the one thing I didn't do, and I'll say this completely hand on heart, I never got caught in the emotion of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
and neither did I carry my emotions with me in to a certain degree.
That's
Um,
ridiculous.
I generally, I
Yeah,
never,
that's
I never carried
crazy.
my emotion. I never carried my emotions with me. Like I was just so. I think it's just because I was so humbled. Like I was so humbled. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't think like even being around adults and stuff. Like literally, I'll be humbled. I'll just be observant. Like I just wanted to see what's going on, sort of thing. Like I was that kind of adventurous kid and just
Mm-hmm.
learning. And I'm still that way now to this day. But yeah, man. Yeah, just making the best out of situations. Never chose to give up. I generally didn't give up at all, no matter how hard it was. Like when I was panhandling, the worst that somebody could say is no. And you best believe I got so many no's. And
Mm-hmm.
it could have been discouraging, but however, I just kept on going because I knew at the end of the day I needed to eat. So if that's what I had to do, that's what I had to do. Like there's a purpose behind it. Um, and also like believing in certain things. Like I said, I believe I'm gonna get $1 out of this person, and I'm gonna try and put it in a way where I'm not asking because I want your money, but I'm actually asking for a genuine reason. And so that was thing. I think I'll say there's one thing I definitely learned as well was I learned how to communicate in those situations for
Mm-hmm.
real. And I was like, because I didn't know anybody, um, my only thing was just literally going out to the streets and just sometimes
Surviving.
talking to random strangers, and I had to do what I had to do and just kind of talk. Like there was actually some nice people that would talk to me as well, like just
Mm-hmm.
hey, tell me about you, this is what you doing here, yada yada yada. and stuff like that. So, and I did hear some like positive wisdom from
Mm-hmm.
some certain elders or certain individuals and stuff. So, which kind of helped as well, because at least I wasn't again taking in negative information. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least I wasn't trying to attract it. But yeah, still, um, yeah. So it was a lot of like, yeah, just again trying to make the best out of any situation I could that
Do
was in front
you,
of me.
when obviously like you're in that moment, you're talking about, oh, I gotta get the next dollar, I gotta find the next thing, and you're in like complete survival mode. Did you still dream as a kid of like the big Hollywood sign, or was there just no time for that?
You know what? I heard a little bit about it. I didn't know. Actually, I didn't really know what the Hollywood sign. No,
No, and
not.
even that, like obviously as a metaphor, but like
Yeah.
you
Oh,
see
you
the
saying like
kids,
dreaming? Oh, okay.
yeah,
Just
just
saying dreaming
dreaming in
big.
general, like
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't. I was just surviving. I wasn't
yeah.
thinking about dreams or nothing. And literally, was not thinking about playing Division 1 college basketball or making the
Mm-hmm.
NBA or going to school or becoming a doctor, lawyer, whatever. Like I
It
wasn't
just
thinking about none of that. I was just like, I need to freaking go into entrepreneurial mode and try and figure out how to get in here, and sort out some business. But yeah, no, on the grand scheme of things, no, I didn't really dream at all. Honestly, I
see
didn't.
that's what's crazy is because obviously like people are always like, okay, you got to know your dream, you got to find, and then you'll find a way, and it's kind of like you trusted the way,
Mm, mm,
and like there's something like I was personally like working on myself is like, okay, I know I want to get here, I want to do this or whatever, and I know where I'm at now, and you don't, that big space in between is like this big black hole. You have no
mm,
clue what's going to happen, where it's going to take you, whatever, and you have to kind of trust that black hole and go,
mm.
I got to trust myself and I trust this black hole. And you've kind of just done that so like just like in a way, like not in a rude way, but like naively just gone, yeah, like I can trust it. How?
You just gotta. It's one of those things. It's about embracing uncertainty. You just literally embrace it, like because uncertainty. Well, here's the difference between uncertainty and certainty.
Okay.
Certainty gives you comfort. It gives you security. It
Mm-hmm.
gives you, uh, to a certain extent, a peace of mind. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, if you stay in certainty, you're never gonna grow. You're never gonna
Mm-hmm.
move anywhere. You're never gonna get anywhere. Whereas with uncertainty, you're in a position where you have to make decisions. Okay, you're uncertain. Well, let's start trying to figure out what is it that is going to make us happy. How do we want to feel? You start putting yourself in a space of thought and process, and it's like, all right, I may be uncertain about this, but I want to go this way. Like it's like you say, like look at a page, look at a white page. You have the pen. What do you want to draw on it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see in your mind's eye or in your head or in your dream or whatever, that gives you that sense of satisfaction that you are drawing this out and this is what you're going to achieve or go after or whatever. And when you see that or when you feel that, then it's like, all right, what steps, what tasks, what are the things that I have to do within that process or within that journey to get there? So again, for example, I was hungry. I felt hungry. I was starving. What am I going to do about it? My certainty was, well, I'm hungry. I'm safe in this space to a certain extent because I know I am. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, my stomach needs to eat. I need food. Now, how was I going to get? How was I going to get food in my stomach? I had absolutely zero clue. But I went off the feeling, and I just kind of played around with different ideas, explored different opportunities, checked out different avenues, or asked random people and just said, "Look, here's what's going on. Here's what I need. Would you be able to help me? If not, it is fine." And you kind of like, yeah, you just kind of learn to navigate your way through it. You kind of, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but or not even in an egotistical way, but you kind of like get better as you go because you know
Mm-hmm.
what to say, that would help, like that will improve and benefit your situation.
But that's what's crazy is though. You look at society and you look at the way everyone is at the moment. Everyone controls everything as their biggest coping mechanism. I've got to control this. It's got to go my way with this. It's got to be all this. And
Mm,
so with all this controlling, is The second it goes wrong, the second there's this confusion, this panic, people don't know what to do. They don't know how to deal with it. They're out of control because their whole life is spent finding a routine, finding this is got to how it's going to be. There's a quote that says, "If you think adventure is dangerous, try routine. It's lethal."
What, having a routine is bad?
It's lethal, is what this guy was saying, because in that certainty, in that comfort, in that routine, you're losing yourself, because it's just that Monday. You're not learning how to do anything, how to live, how to understand yourself, and what you've gone through as a kid, and you've just learned, I've got to figure this out. I've got in with no control, complete kind of confusion. Like you said, you had no clue what was going on in a way, and you accepted it and was like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to find the next dollar? How am I going to find food? And it's like our whole society right now is programmed to just go, how do we control all these things so that nothing goes wrong, so that our life is as most comfortable and as perfect as possible?
If that's how society is today, boy, they are in for a rude awakening later on down the line. I could tell you that much right now.
But it's like that's what you feel. Like
Yeah.
everyone wants to control everything, right? Every little thing down to the T. I've got it, like blah 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 blah. You schedule everything down to the 10 minutes of whatever, and it's crazy.
But what's going to happen when those 10 minutes don't work out your way? You know, like you say, oh, I didn't get this 10 minutes in. Oh, now everything gets pushed back, and then it's like, oh, I'm off schedule. You put yourself in this state of anxiety, or this state of like feeling like you're failing and stuff. Like, yeah, of course, like and the thing is, like, people have a hard time accepting, like, that's what it is. It's accepting the fact that you can't control everything. Only thing you can control is how you respond, or how you adjust, or adapt to the situation or the circumstance present. Now, again, like, how do you do that as a person? As a person, you got to figure out where this control. Like, you got to figure out what is the emotion underneath that is making you want to feel this way. Like, if it's comfort, it is comfort. Is that because your upbringing was always based around comfort, or maybe life for you was kind of easy, so you're used to when life is easy? But as time goes on and things get harder, and you have to become much more dependent on yourself, and mom and dad aren't going to be walking you through the little streets and stuff like that, and you got to learn how to walk yourself through, and you got to learn how to navigate. Then what? You know what I mean? Like, it's a hard hitting or a hard-nosed reality that sometimes we got to learn how to really just depend on ourselves, to be the best that we can be in any situation that we can be. And if we fail, okay, that's fine. Or if we come up short, okay, that's fine. Keep moving, keep trucking, keep strolling, keep taking one step at a time, or just enjoy the breath that flows in and out your nose or through your mouth into your chest, because at least if there's anything that's certain, then at least you know that you're alive. You know what I mean? So
Powerful. That's powerful. But like you said, that fail though, that's what the fear is that drives all this. Because if everyone's wanting to, it's because we're scared of what happens if it doesn't go right. What if we fail? What if the opinion doesn't go our way? What if we're not liked? What if all these different things? And like I just said again, you've gone through that. You've faced all the no's, all the rejection, like all those things that could go wrong, and you're like, cool, I'm still here. Like I said, that next breath's still coming in. And so that's like, when you hear a story like yours, it's like, this guy's still fighting, this guy's still here, this guy still wants to talk, this guy still wants to have joy, this guy still wants to laugh, like, this guy still wants to give. And it's like, we're too scared to even fail, let alone to give, to smile, to joy, and to be happy about all that, and to find those little things in that journey in the first place. And it's like, that's the lesson I'm feeling right now as I hear what you're telling me. And I'm like, this guy's doing all that with his story, and now he's now he's doing all this afterwards, after having survived all that. And it's like, everybody else is like not even wanting to go through the battle in the first place.
You know what, and it's funny you say that, because it's like, it's funny hearing that. And I don't mean, I know, I get it, because people aren't used to dealing with the uncertainty or the moment they begin to feel uncomfortable, then it's like they enter this state of shock. And it's like it's a shock to the system, it's a shock to their belief system, it's a shock to their brain, their emotions, everything. So they like you say, they instantly get into this space of fear. Which is quite interesting. And I don't mean to be like condescending. It's funny to me because it's like raw. Like this is life throwing some obstacles at you because just wants to simply see you grow and see how you deal with it. How do you step up to the plate? How do you look at these situations and rather going into victim mode, how do you go into victor mode or become victorious in a situation? You know, it's just like raw, man. Like, come on, guys, we're better than this. We're way stronger than the limitations that we give ourselves. You know, and it's just a matter of our views, you know, and how we see situations, what it is that we believe, you know, like, yeah, it requires a bit of, honestly, it just requires a bit of soul searching, but it also requires you just to think about the things that you are grateful for every single day, you know, and really appreciate what it is that you do have, because there's like one or two things, and there's different other factors, but the two things I would say is that there's somebody out there that would love to have just 1% of what you have, and plus two, life isn't always that bad. As long as you have a roof over your head, some food to eat, and a bed to sleep on, hey, you're freaking good. So don't even complain. You know what I mean? You're good. You just need to figure out, you know, what is it that you want to get out in life, or where is it that you want to go, sort of thing. So, you know, and yeah, life isn't easy. Of course, it's not. It ain't easy. I'm doing, and you're right. Like, I'm doing what I'm doing now. But still, there's still days where I'm like challenged. But again, I'm not afraid of the challenge. I'm happy to step up and say, you know what, all right, let's figure this whole thing out. Like, it's a mindset thing. It's like, again, like, yeah, like stories and experiences that have helped you to understand that, oh, this is familiar. This isn't nothing new to me. You know what I mean? And it's like, I could take, you know, experiences and stuff and apply that same practical, like, binary information. Like, I know what it feels like to be said no to. But I didn't stop then. So if I didn't stop then, why should I stop now? You know, I'm gonna just keep on going, sort of thing. Like, it's the art of resilience, really.
100%, man. Because it's. I think I saw something that said, like, pain is there, like, to teach you a lesson. When you've learned that lesson, it then moves on.
100%.
And it's like it'll come back when you need to learn the next lesson.
100%.
And I was like, exactly. And it's not out of, like, I'm not saying it all with, like, people or society or whatever to divide or to separate, like you mentioned like 10 minutes ago, but it's like the only thing I would say to the people that are like, oh, like, you know, I'm not this, is just, like you said, be real with yourself, be grateful, be honest, whether it's the depth of soul searching that you're going to the bottom of the ocean, or you're just like dipping your head in the water and having a look. It doesn't matter. But if you're being honest and real with, like, you know, with who you are or whatnot, then from there you can work out, okay, what do I actually want? Who do I want to be? What are these steps that I want to take where I could end up having to fail, where I could be told no, where I could, and then you've kind of, from there, you've got enough to go, okay, I think I can face this one, or I think I can face the next. And that all just comes down to that perspective. And this is my favorite book of all time, and I don't know if you've read it, but the Book of Joy. I don't know if you've heard about it. You'd love it, man, 100%. And I use this book in all these podcast episodes. Like, I should be, should be getting commission out here or something. But it talks about these pillars of joy, and it, like what you kind of just said, you embody them so much, and it's like that perspective of, like, and I'm gonna look at it in a really big picture here, but the way that you've approached everything in your life, it's like perspective is number one, and you've kind of always gone, okay, I can find the best of this situation. And then you've got, like, the humility, and you've talked about how humble you are through all these situations. And then you've got a bit of humor because you're laughing this whole way through. So I have a feeling you were finding time to laugh and, like, everything before as well. So I'm seeing that. And then you said, like, the acceptance, how important that is, the foundation for that to then go on and forgive, have gratitude, have compassion, and have generosity. And if I've seen anyone embody those pillars, like, it's crazy to me to be, like, hearing all this. And So that then, like, apart from telling you how well you embody these pillars of joy, it would be then to say, to look back at this whole journey, everything that you've gone through, like, how do you see this, like, this crazy thing, that, like, roller coaster you've been on it? Like, is there that general, like, is there that, like, that gratitude for it? Is there a way you can be grateful for what you've gone on?
That's a good question. How do I look at the journey that I've been on this far? It's I don't know. It's been like, oh, let me figure out what word can I use, or what word can I explain. It's definitely been uncertain. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely been uncertain. It's been a test of not just like a test in terms of actually like physical things, but it's been a test of like character, which is another big thing as well. Again, like what you was just talking about, one of the all those pillars, those are amazing pillars to have, and it, like, extremely positive values to even hold. But character is another big one as well. To kind of put that in there, because you know who you truly are when the going gets tough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So, and that's what I would say is definitely, like, I view it as a tough journey, but a good tough journey. Like,
Mm-hmm.
something
They,
that has strengthened me now to this day. Something that my parents couldn't have taught me, or something that, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to learn, just on my own. Like, life put me in those, like prepared me early, like put me in those situations and prepared me early for this day now. So but yeah, that's that. But then it's not like to say it in a selfish manner. It's just to say it, like, for what people need, whether that's a bit of hope, a bit of motivation, a bit of sincerity, someone to feel like they are listened to, or whatever. It's, yeah, like, that's just knowing that you have things that you can provide, and you can provide value to those around you, not just for yourself, but to those around you as well.
mm-hmm.
And that's also another way of looking at it. So yeah.
For the suffering that you've gone through, Carl Jung once said, he said, one day in retrospect, the years of suffering will strike you as the most beautiful. Do you agree?
I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time?
No worries. Carl Jung said, one year, the years in retrospect, the past, the years of suffering will strike you as the most beautiful.
Years of suffering strike as the most
Do
beautiful.
you
Yeah,
agree?
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely, definitely suffering, because and kind of like go a little bit off of that suffering. You have to make a choice within suffering. You have to make a choice whether you want to stay here, or if you want to move into the other side of suffering, which is enlightenment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a quote from The Power of Now. But have you read that book?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You know what I mean? They
Mm-hmm.
say that the end of suffering is enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's one of those things. Went on that spiritual journey a little bit, and yeah, once I kind of fathomed that, and kind of took that on board and make it a part of like a new sort of belief system, or whatever you want to say, that's tied into the higher selves of us. Um, then it was like, all right, move on later on in the journey. And then recently, like this past year, uh, really started diving into what it means to have self love, and and what self love is. And when you think about it now, like, it's one of those things that, looking at the past and stuff and how that has affected me. Yeah, it hasn't always been great. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't always been great, but I can definitely say that I've always been humbled through the experiences. Had to kind of dive into like some of the experiences, or revisit them, and like put a different meaning behind it. And once I did that, then I healed from it, and now I'm in a much more better place. Then it's just kind of wanting to share that much more beautiful side of you, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of, yeah, that be the like they say, be the change that you want to see in the world. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, man, and that's all I'm on like right now, just encouraging people to heal from their journeys and try to try to become the better versions of themselves. And every day isn't always pretty. Trust me.
Hmm.
I know there's some days I'm like, what am I doing? But at the same time, I'm like, I have a purpose. What the hell am I complaining about? You know what I mean?
With everything, again, like we said, obviously looking back in retrospect and all that we've gone through, where you are at now, and you're playing basketball, what is kind of like the future looking like? What's the present looking like? Who's Daniel now?
Oh man, Daniel is a free spirit, man. Free, like generally just a free spirit. And I'm on a journey right now where I want to build something for young people. I want to build like a kind of like a coaching, basketball coaching thing where young kids can come in, or kids who are trying to play the game who actually really enjoy the game. Like I want to teach them, but also make it fun at the same time. Teach the game and stuff, just as well as wanting to start like using my story to help empower others, help empower businesses, or just giving that source of motivation, because I feel like I have so much energy in a way um, that is going to be, I don't know, like is it going to be impactful, but then it's just me knowing how to use it, where to share it, and who can I give it to, or whatever the case is. Who can I give a part of me to? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Definitely public speaking would be one of those things that I want to continuously keep on working on. I got to continuously, keep working on the craft and try and figure out like what is the art of communication, how do you become a good storyteller, because there's definitely some stories that will help people, like somebody says, quite a few people say it, but there's quite like there's stories there that people can take and think, you know what, if this guy didn't give up, why should I give up? If he's not complaining, why should I be complaining? There's things like that. And when you hear that, you're like, you're right. But this is not for me to keep. This isn't like something that I want my ego soothed or anything.
Hmm.
Like it's not about that sort of stuff. It's generally like, if a person is generally in a place of where they have no hope or they feel like they're giving up, I'm definitely the man for that job. You know what I mean? I'm definitely the person for that, and I believe that for sure. And I believe I'm here for something. I'm gonna figure out
Hmm.
what the heck it is I'm here for eventually. And if I don't find, and if it takes me till I get to my deathbed to realize why I'm here, then that's fine. I'm like, okay, at least I can say happily, I know why I'm here and I know what I was doing, sort
Hmm.
of thing. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just free spirit, having fun, being creative, trying to grow, trying to learn, and figure out how I can provide value to the world and stuff.
Amazing. To be honest, man, like it's your story has done exactly that for me. Like I'm just been inspired, sat here listening to you. And Sadhguru once said, if the world had no water and was thirsty, and you
Mm.
had a well with full of water,
Mm.
would you drink the water for yourself, or would you get on top of the well and scream to the world to come to that well?
Yeah, of
And it's
course. Why not?
when you've got a story like that, and you've got, I can feel the joy, the energy within you to give. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's been even cool hearing this. So I think it's wherever that takes you, like we said, trust in the black hole of whatever that journey will be.
That's it,
It's
man.
it's incredible.
Yeah, that's it, man. And that's it. That's it. It's I believe that God has chooses certain people for certain things on this planet. The creator, the universe selects certain people
Hmm.
for certain reasons. And, just give that person enough time, then they will do something not for them, but for, God, the creator, whatever,
Hmm.
and he will reward that person who steps into his mission relentlessly, without any fear, with joy, with abundance, with positive energy, whatever. He's doing what he's meant to do. And at that point, that is one of the most powerful people on the planet. So,
Hmm.
yeah, you know what I mean? That's kind of like where
Hmm.
I want to go. That's where I want to take it. And again, it's not to be egotistical and say, get on top of a mountain, beat my chest. Look how, trust me, I'm not, it's not like that, man. It is not like that. But it is, simply like when you deep down believe it and you know it and you believe it, then there's nothing to be worried about. There's nothing to be fearful about, because you have a mission, you have a purpose, you have a calling, you know. And once you
Mm-hmm.
figure it, once you know that, you're like, yeah, okay, let me get to work. Let me become a soldier of God. Let me become a
Mm-hmm.
soldier of the Creator. Let me step into the militant person in joy, you know, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So yeah, man, that's it's like, yeah, it's like, all right, you know, I got, whew, what am I, 28? I mean, I was telling someone else the other day, I believe I can live to 100. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Easy. You know, I'm 30. I don't feel 30. I don't know what the heck 30 feels like. God forbid if I do feel 30 and oh, if I do get some body aches and I'm like, all right, I'm 30, but I'm still gonna take care of myself. You know, it's just, yeah, it's mindset, man. It's just all what you feel, how you feel within. And if you feel good about yourself each and every single day, then that just adds years to how you to your life and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, that's where I'm at with things at the moment.
Whatever happens externally, it all comes from within, right?
100%, 100%. But anyway, it was nice talking to you. Lovely.
Brilliant.
Love this first part of the podcast.